Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video we're discussing Beyond Recall, written by Robert Goddard. Now, I do enjoy Robert Goddard's books, and I start each one with high expectations just because he's so skilled in so many areas. What did I think of this one? Let's find out. In this book, there are 3 timelines. We have present day, and the present day timeline is only there for the very start and the end of the book. We have a past timeline that occurs just a few days before the present day to maybe a week or so before the present day as well. So for this book review, I'll refer to that as present day. There's also a past timeline that goes further back in the past, 40 years in the past. We'll call it the past timeline, and I won't refer to that so often in this review because I didn't enjoy the past timeline in this novel so much, and there are big chunks of it throughout this novel. I'd say it makes up maybe a third of the novel, and I found it very disappointing, and it did colour my view of this book overall. The start of this book had a great hook. Our hero, Chris Napier, is contacted by a strange woman, and this woman gives him an ultimatum. He either pays up a large sum of money, or there are secrets that she's going to expose that would damage him and his family, and his greater family this is, not just immediate family. So straight away, the reader's hooked. I was hooked. I wanted to know what the secrets were, who this woman is, and just what events lead to this. What leads this woman to approach him and demand this money. That was so interesting that I couldn't put this book down. From that very, very short section at the start of the book with that ultimatum, we just jump back a couple of days and we find there's a wedding going on. It's Chris's niece getting married. And we also find out then that he's estranged from his family, so he's not caught up in that wealth. He's got his own business, he's made a life for himself. And that plays out importantly in the rest of the novel because he's not scared to lose that money. He's only interested in the truth. At his niece's wedding, Chris sees a strange man who looks homeless. When he goes to talk to this man, he finds out that it's his friend from 40 years ago, Nicky, and he hasn't seen Nicky for 40 years. And the reason for that is that Nicky's father was found guilty and convicted of murdering his great uncle. And Nicky's father was put to death because of this. So that created the schism in their friendship because Nicky's mother took him and his sister away to another part of the country to live after that court case. The next day, he goes back to the same area and he sees that Nicky has committed suicide. He's hanging from a tree. So immediately he starts to feel a bit guilty. He's wondering if he could have done more to stop that from happening. But then he also starts wondering about the things that Nicky spoke about the day before, about his father being innocent and about his missing sister. That leads Chris into just looking into the history of his family and the history of his uncle's death a bit. And then he's approached by a woman called Emma. Now Emma says that her real name's Michaela and she's just using the name Emma to hide. And Michaela is the long-lost sister of Nicky, who's run away from the family at a young age because she was being abused by her stepfather. That then leads Chris to investigate even further because Michaela, who's called Emma, Michaela wants to find out the truth about her father as well. She wants to do it for herself, but also for her dead brother, Nicky. Christopher wants to find out the truth for himself, for Michaela, and for his friend who's now dead. It leads to difficult questions for his family because there are interesting things going on. How did his family get that money? Have they got secrets to hide? Any members of his family? This all starts coming up as the plot unfolds, and we only get bits and pieces of it as we go further along in the novel. Another woman turns up in the plotline called Pauline Lucas. Pauline is mysterious, but she's also a bit dangerous, and the way she's written, she also seems a bit unstable, a bit insane. She starts to cause a lot of problems for Chris and for his family. She's out to get them, it seems, not to cause them physical harm, but to hurt them in other ways, to discredit their family, their businesses. We find out a lot more about Pauline and about Emma/Michaela as the plot unfolds. And I can't give any more away about both of them or about the plot, because if I do, it will ruin the story. I'll just say that, like any other Goddard novel, there are so many questions that need to be answered and so many characters that have secrets they're trying to hide. Sometimes the secrets are quite sinister, sometimes they're just benign, but for some reason they don't want them to be known. Goddard's the master at that those characters that are so well-rounded and you don't find out about them until the very end. If it wasn't for that past timeline from 40 years ago that distracted me from the rest of the plot, I would have enjoyed this even more. The main character is Chris Napier, and in the present timeline, the story is from his point of view. So he's the main character, of course, and we see most of what's going on through his eyes. Because of that, he's the character we get to know the most. And Robert Goddard has done a really clever job of creating Chris, because he starts off being a bit of a reluctant hero. He doesn't really want to get involved, but he feels he has to, for his friend and then for his friend's long-lost sister who's now returned. He's not a perfect person himself. He's just fumbling along, it seems, a bit while he tries to dig into this story more and find out the truth. And that made it a bit fascinating, because it's an average person doing this, not somebody who's, a trained investigator or an ex-officer. It's just an average person. And that's a bit of the genius of Goddard, in that in many of his stories, he takes average people and throws them into these storylines where they have to go that little bit extra just to find out the truth. So the rest of the characters are a bit of a mixed bag, and we get to know some more than others, but they've all got secrets to hide, and we don't explore them as much as we do Chris, of course, because it is from his point of view. So I'll just mention again the two that I mentioned in the plot section. That's Emma/Michaela, who appears out of nowhere, saying she's a long-lost sister. She kind of manipulates Chris a bit in the investigation stage, and she's got a bit of a past. She's very secretive. We don't get to know too much about her early on. We learn more about her as the novel goes on, of course. Chris does believes her story, and that's important because that pushes the plot along. The other woman, Pauline, straight away she comes across as dangerous, but she's also got so much more to her character, because we do see other sides to Pauline as well as the novel goes on. And she's very cleverly written, because she comes across as quite well planned, quite thoughtful interactions. We tend to find out more about why she's doing what she's doing as the novel progresses. And I thought it was very clever that we didn't find that out straight away. We're led along a bit, and we have to go along that journey just to find out what her true intentions are. While I didn't think this is the best Goddard novel that I've read, I thought for the present timeline it was really strong. It's just that past timeline that I didn't like and I got distracted by. And there was just too much of it, I thought. Because of all that, I rate this a 3.5 out of 5. And that surprised me, because I just expect every Goddard novel to be a 4 or more. It won't stop me from reading more of his books. Well, for starters, I've got many more on my shelf, so I have to read them. So I'll look forward to the next Goddard novel and the next review I do on one of his novels.